Chapter 14, Part 2. The image of my friend smiles in a way that conveys thoughtfulness and compassion. What a pairing we are! What a tragic comedy, a blessed spirit, a divine ghost, and a ghost in the machine. Ha ha! You couldn't make this shit up. Genius. From the genius mind, no doubt. You're a clever sausage, aren't you? You saw it, the truth of Mr. Time Warp, as we have come to know him. The negative linear man who hid from the authorities under a cloak that had been constructed by future divine technologies within a digital solitaire program. Using the program as raw energy without the hybrid mind even knowing. Sensational. Like a mosquito numbing the chosen area in which to suck the red and flowing life force. Brilliant. Just brilliant. And I'm not too big to say it. I didn't see it. It's true. I didn't. Not back then. Obvious now, though. Really, really obvious. Through the reflection of divine sight. Quite obvious. A cloak lifted into place to hide a portal that bridged the gulf towards better things and a richer life. A life that's built on truth and a blessing and a kiss from heaven. Strange happenings. Amazing happenings. Well, you saw it, like I say, but I must also add that you didn't really understand it. Not really. Not in its entirety. The beauty, the passion of the Creator to make right the original plan without breaking universal rules, universal laws. I'm assessing the situation as Ulysses' projection continues talking. I have either gone completely mad, or this is really happening. It can only really be one or the other. There are no other options available. Everything that I am is telling me that this is real, a real experience, and it feels more natural to play along and show willing than kick against such cosmic presentations. To do so would burn far more energy and bring forth a self-destructive determination to be insane and damaged beyond useful things. I've decided one way or the other, insanity or reality, and it is considerably simpler to follow the path of least resistance and the path of strongest flow. The days pass, and my faith in my friend and my ever-widening spiritual experience increases, and my doubt evaporates, and there is only ever peace through such evaporations. I talk and I listen, and I need to listen more than I talk. There is much going on here that my friend is divulging, fleshing out, excuse the inappropriate idiom. Pausing only occasionally to highlight and emphasize phrases and individual words, Ulysses explains his position and how he's been assigned to me for a particular reason, to get me to a particular point in relation to my understanding. Whenever I ask him who has assigned him to such a task, he will do one of three things, all very general and in the way of sidestepping an actual real answer. He will either point to his heart or point up in the air, relatively speaking, or a combination variation of both, like pointing up in the air and then patting his heart 3 times. My energetic friend comes and goes, but mainly he's here and helps to further my understanding of the more grounded reality of the cosmos, those things that are actually important and actual life and death kind of stuff. He summons a chair from the ether and sits in front of me, and usually off to one side, mainly the right-hand side. His chosen chair is made from a tough red leather. It is very old, and there are ripped sections that show the internal gubbins, sinew and stuffing. He could create his seat as if brand new, but I get the feeling he likes it that way. In all its ancient beauty and mystery, the scratches, the dulled areas in juxtaposition to the polished, the tears and the rips. This is a chair that gives the observer the distinct idea that beneath its aging red skin there might actually reside a living soul. On other occasions, and on days leading up to this moment, Ulysses has simply sat in his beloved chair and talked about what he refers to as important shit. But on this current and particular day cycle, he's acting very differently, and I get the distinct feeling that something big is about to happen, and my awareness is about to shift or change in some strange or unexpected way. He jumps to his feet as though instructed by some external force, and as though there is some reason for him to be triumphant, and he walks slowly towards the cabin's perimeter, and then steps it out in a way of encircling my forever fixed location. He continues to walk and talk, and begins to adopt a more nonchalant manner. How big do you think you are? You, being, as you have come to understand, your form, torso from waist up, and the fabric of the ship. How much further does your material structure reach? How much further outside of this cabin space? This room? Half a metre? A little more? A little less? What are your thoughts? I'm curious and I'm deadly serious. You have internal field sensors and external field sensors, and you have the intuition to gauge the difference, in theory, anyway. So come on. How large do you think you are in your totality? How well can you read your own book? Let's start our quest for ultimate understanding right here on our own doorstep. Well, let's see. I begin, without pausing, trying to convey the idea that I've already considered all this, but in all truth, it's never even crossed my mind. I would imagine, the scale of the ship is not too far outside the size of the interior in relation to the width. The hull is maybe a stride thick, and the length, that is, accounting for the engines, possibly in roughly twice that which can be seen from here inside. Ulysses looks bemused, and has adopted a strong frown. That's taking into account my onboard schematics, but also, intuitively, that's how it all feels to me. I add, in response to his look and in a way of attempting to sound worthy of his question. But now I come to say it out loud, I must confess, I cannot for sure be sure. So much for intuition. You're going to have a shock, laddie. Shit. You'll need to sit down for this one. Ha ha. Sorry, don't mean to joke. Actually, the opposite is true. You'll need to stand up. You will. I'm being serious. You're going to need to see it with your own eyes. If you can't feel it, and I mean you obviously cannot, then you will need to see it firsthand. That's where we'll start then, right at the beginning, and we'll take it from there. Sound good? Ulysses nods to himself in agreement to his own statement, and turns around in order to fix his gaze upon panels that show automatic functions. Your episodes, your temporal flashbacks, are not merely clear memory formation or universal energy tapping. They are much, much more than this. You know that, right? Of course you do. Have you figured it out yet, our Mr. Time Warp? No? Well, to spell out the blatanto, he had material and physical experiences that developed from inside a complete illusion, a manifestation of real things that had no bearing in the quantum-locked reality of the mecha, and yet his experience, unbeknownst to the solitaire intelligence, was fruitful and solid and healing and more than the life he'd experienced up until that point, the point of being snatched. Mr. Time Warp tapped into a magic that had been around far longer than Mr. Solitaire. You with me? The magic that created his reality and gifted him with fantastic events that completely existed in space and time, was an ancient magic, more ancient than the stars, more ancient than the most ancient light. So let's restart there, shall we, with this kind of energy dynamic. We have to get you understanding all this, what's happening to you, the past experiences that you've been connecting with, the living visions. They're all material, physical, you see, due to and courtesy of the micro-Q ports that you create so readily now, so easily, and all rising from your mecha malfunction, or, to put it another way, your awakening, your enlightenment, your growth. And it's all good growth, it is, sound and solid and expansive, but more growth is needed. Much more. Ulysses pauses briefly and gazes outwards and towards the eternal star fields and becomes all philosophical. All this beauty, all this elegance, what stops it from dissolving into noise? The first of the spiritual questions. It can be as simple as one word, or it can be so complicated that it fills all of the libraries back on Alpha. You know, if you look at the tiny lights in the right kind of way, the stars, the seemingly endless highway that you are travelling, the whole of creation from this great distance looks like an immense city, a city of golden fiery flecks, an ancient city, a city of candle lights. And then, in a half whisper, and becoming very distant himself. Ulysses repeats, reiterates, condenses his noun phrase. A city of tiny lights. Looking back within the cabin and suddenly adopting a more assertive stance, my friend continues. If we connect you with your future and where you're heading, an orchestra of possible destinies, then we may win over more favour. Favours. Favours. Give us more favours. Favours from the architect. That's what we need. If only your future could be a little more certain. That's the ticket. That's the golden one. You've opened portals to the past and lived there in realities vignetted. Now let's see if we can send you forward. How about it? How about switching the polarity and living your future possibilities ahead of time? Well, a few slices of them anyway, enough to make your experience back here more objective so that we may force you away from your static moorings and break you out of your plastic prison. Quick overview. What am I proposing? You travel at the point of infinity. Your infinity drive, your demon class engine, pivots, relies on this like a hinge that travels both ways. So, let's take you beyond infinity. You see, every time you travel through Q-ports, whilst on this amazing Starlight Express, you will take on energy, and when you return, you will bring that very same energy back with you. You can use this extra energy to master yourself and become wiser in relation to your surroundings near and far. In this sense, it is a physical portal that you're creating and stepping through. It's not merely spying, but instead, you are existing there, living in those spaces between spaces, if only in short bursts, flashes at first, flashes that excrete a nectar in your biology that change you in ways most profound, and if you could choose, you would never have it any other way. Mastery will grant you the kind of independence that you're looking for. Independence from the mechanism. You'll see. You're not expected to understand at this point, but don't worry. You surely will. Answers are coming. My tutor points to one star. The star that is fixed in centre field. There it is, the star system of your chosen destination. Make a wish. Why not? I just have. After all, we need all the help we can get, don't we? What can you feel when you focus your attention on it? The glimmering, the silvery pinpoint, the silvery shimmering. What do you feel? I look towards my destination point and I feel a nudge within my central core, and this happens almost immediately. An emotion that connects me with my teacher, the ghost of Ulysses, my dear friend, and my teacher's words, and, in turn, this pushes me, budges me, through gaps between sound, the vibrations, the waves, and the spaces unknown, and the silence therein. A silver flash, like a bright screen in the darkness, a flash of a desert scene, just for a moment, and then a lady, a beautiful lady who shines like the sun, shining up from the desert through the haze and the hot air, and she has a diamond for a heart. Yes, you see it. You're there. Good lad, good lad. And then an experience of many flashes. Flashes in succession at high speed like a shutter flickering rapidly or distant lightning through moving trees. And the lady turns towards me as though animated into life, and she knows me. Connections through the deep blackness increase, and she is calling. She is calling to me, even though she does not speak inasmuch that her lips do not move. But she speaks nonetheless. Her mind speaks. Her mind speaks to me. Her mind and her heart, and she says, "Are you coming to save us?" I am suddenly at ground-lock level, and the vista has encased my sensory reach. I am no longer watching, observing, for now I am living. I am living in the vision, this living vision, and the vision in truth has evaporated, for it has become my reality. A little like my experiences of the lab, only much stronger, immeasurably stronger. I see it now, and I understand it, the wisdom of Ulysses' words. and my understanding causes a total embracing of the Q-port phenomena, and I step through the door. And the sun is on my face and on my body, and I am walking across the sandy dunes, and I am energized. I have a sensation that it's all been too long coming, and now I am finally warm. And in the warmth of the sunshine there is a double sense. A sense of synthetic loss, and a sense of real self. A sense of real life in the warmth, and in the natural electricity of the deep yellow sun. A bellowing sun that's high above me, and suspended in a cloudless sky.